Yo, you already know what it is, man. It's your boy A&R for the Streets. Welcome to the A&R for the Streets podcast. Today we got a special guest on the podcast. Somebody you've been listening to on the radio almost every day. You feel me? On Flow 93.5, been killing the game. He's been putting a lot for the city, especially the independent artists in the city. You know what I mean? He actually opened the door for artists to be heard in the city, especially across Canada and the world. This guy is the man. Is doing it. Is one of the selfless guy in the city. Yo, yo, tell them about you, man. Let them know. Let them know who's in the building right now, man.
Yo, what up? It's your man Ricochet, Flow 93.5, made in Toronto Takeover, Ill Kids. People been around them times, they know what it is. Yeah, man, I'm out here, brother. You know what it is.
Yeah, say less, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to do this, man, because I know you're a busy guy. Like you're always on the radio. When I'm driving, man, I always listen to you, like for real, for real. So it's an
Yeah,
honor
nah, bees.
to be able to.
Appreciate you for having me, man. You've been doing a lot for the city, for the culture, for the game.
Yeah, man.
So it's yeah, man, anytime, broski. You know, when we could chop it up together, it's always a good time.
Yo, facts, man. I've been trying my thing, networking and things like that. I met you at the club. And I'm like, yo, bro, we're gonna connect one day. I don't know when it's gonna be, but we're gonna
One
connect. But
day.
like, one day,
The man said the club. That feels like ages ago. You know, when's
ages.
the last time somebody's been in a club? But yeah.
Ages. I'm the
Mhm.
type of person when I meet people, I don't try to connect with them right away. I'm like, yo, one day, whenever it happens, it happens. When the universe
Right.
connect us together, I never try to push myself on people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I
No,
always
but you
wait.
do it the right way. Like, and I was telling a story the other day. I'm like, we live in an era where like these days somebody finna grill you
Yeah,
before they finna dap you up. You
yeah,
feel
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
When it comes to strangers.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, more people need to have your approach, man. You came in with like, you know, just a good vibe, and I was like, yo, I mess with this dude, you know. So whatever whatever you're doing, I'm with. You know what I mean? That was kind of the vibe
Facts.
from when I met you.
Facts. I had to salute you. I had to give you your flowers. Because one thing I realized in this world, people don't like to give people their flowers while they're alive. They wait till the person's gone. Oh man, this person was the best. I'll let you know right now, bro. You're the best at what you do.
I
I gave
appreciate
you your
it.
flowers and told you like, yo, we gotta connect one day. But yeah, so to get started, let the people know how you got started in this whole music game. You know what I mean?
Wow. Shit. Like I was a kid, maybe like 12, 13 years old, and I seen like a DJ on TV, right? And I don't know, man. I seen the DJ and I was like, yo, that shit looks mad cool. All the shorties were around him, right? And I being a 12-year-old kid, I'm like, yo, I want to be on that vibe. So yeah, man, I just started saving up. And then like I grew up in a little bit of a, at-risk neighborhood, if that's what you want to call it, you know what I mean? And I think the vibe was my mom seeing me saving up money, and then my brother convinced her, like, yo, this guy has saved up enough money to buy one turntable. So I came home one day, turntables are there. And that, like, at 13, 14, that was it, man. Like, as soon as them turntables touched my crib, being a DJ was what I was focused on. That led to me volunteering over at CHRY, which is now Vibe 105 over at York University.
Oh,
Volunteering there for a little bit, maybe 6 months, and then they offered me and my mansdom a show, right? So we had a DJ crew called Ill Kids. So they offered us a show over there. So you know what I mean? We were doing night shift and then the mornings, that transitioned into mornings. So we did that for a little while. And then then I was a little bit more focused on the bread. So when I got to like 2022, it was like all about like DJing, promoting parties, and just getting to the bread, like touring and all that stuff. So that's kind of like what started the whole vibe.
okay, that's dope. That's dope. It's crazy how your vibe started as a DJ. My whole thing started as a promoter. You know what I mean? Like when I started doing all ages parties, like
Right,
Canada versus America back in the day. DJ
right,
Charlie B and all those guys was involved with these all ages.
right.
You know what I mean?
I tell people a lot of the time, I'm like, like DJing, promoting, like it starts like that's the seed, right? That starts the tree. So the tree grows from that seed, and then the branches out of nowhere start coming, opportunities start coming, and it's like, are you gonna focus on doing just what you're doing, and then not
Yeah,
be open to other
yeah,
shit? Or are you going to be open and start branching off as the branches grow? Or are you going to go in that direction? And that's kind of like what happened with me, man. I've done everything from a booking agent,
yeah.
nightclub manager, nightclub owner,
Jeez.
promoter, DJ, voiceover dude, radio, like anything that's kind of like given me an opportunity to go for. I just like went for it. You know what I mean?
Dope, 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 dope. The voice
So
was
it's like
really
people
dope.
don't realize being a promoter, being a DJ, sometimes like that just opens up a box of like everything else. You feel
Well,
me?
yeah, trust me. It's like people always ask me, how did I get in this whole Toronto music thing? I'm like, man, it just chose me. I didn't really just get in it. Y'all
That's
like, I
how.
started doing parties, and out of nowhere, I started liking Toronto music. I started
Right.
digging into it, and I dig deep,
Right.
and here I am. You feel me?
Well,
Like,
the reality is also what we're doing right now, you know, talking about like the Toronto music scene or the Canadian hip hop scene. You
yeah,
couldn't have that conversation as in depth as we may be having today, like 20 years ago, because it just, I'm not saying it was non-existent. It was, but it was just kind of like a smaller community. Obviously, technology and the internet has changed that, but we've blossomed into like, you know, a destination for music here in Toronto, right?
yeah, you definitely right about that, and that's why I went out when I created this whole top 50 thing. I did like a whole top 50 list because I seen everybody was doing top 50 lists in their cities and things like that of underground artists, and I did the top 50 list, and this shit was super viral. I'm like, whoa, fuck.
Right.
That was just artists I was fucking with, and I thought it needed some shine. You know what I mean? I never thought about like there was so many artists other than the top 50 that I put up there. Like you said, the whole music scene in Toronto kind of like blossom into something really huge. It kind of create their own little space now. So how do
Right.
you feel about the music scene right now? Like just seeing Drake coming at the city, the weekend and everybody else.
I mean, like again, like 15, 20 years ago, if you had told people that that was going to be the case, nobody would believe you. Like I remember being around when Drake was bubbling. Like we had him on, like we used to get like guys like Drake, P Rain or Preem now, should I say, JD Era, Tona. There was like a group of really dope MCs that we used to just get into the studio together
Oh,
and they would kick off our mixtapes. You know what I mean? So watching that, like watching that young Drake and Preem, and watching that scene kind of grow into what it is today is just it's mind blowing, man. Like you couldn't have told me back in 2007, 2008 when all of us are in the studio that this
shit.
is what the outcome is going to be. You know what I mean? So of course, I think obviously Drake changed the landscape in general. I don't think anybody was really taking us that serious. I mean, of course, prior to Drake, you had Cardinal,
Yeah.
which kind of, you know, he kind of kicked the door down. Um, and then, you know, and then Drake follows through. But I think when people seen what Drake was doing, it kind of like, you know, their misconceptions about Canada and like mooses and igloos and whatever you know what I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of went out the door, and they were a little more open. And that's where you see now the weekend come through, you see Tory come through, you see Nav come through. It's just everybody's now has the opportunity, right?
Yeah, you're definitely right about that, and I applaud you for what you're doing over there at 93.5 because I always felt like 93.5 was kind of like it was a dope radio station, but it was far away from they weren't connected with what's going on in the city, especially the underground scene with the Smoke Dogs, with the Houdinis.
Right.
I'm like, damn, that's what really got me into the music scene, especially Smoke Dogg and Big Page. Big Page was the one that really got my interest to really like start digging in deep into the
Right.
music scene. But when Smoke Dogg came out with the Trap House. I'm like, man, this guy needs to be on the radio almost every day. I need to hear
Right.
the song every day. So I feel like there was a disconnect with the radio station and what was hot in the city. And that's when you came along and came out with this whole Made in Toronto segment in the radio station. So what made you come up with something like that?
Well, so first of all, I didn't birth that whole idea. I jumped on board, so I got to give the credit to my dude Mastermind. It was all about
Yeah,
celebrating Toronto's birthday. So the idea was for that whole day, you know, all we would be doing from 6 a.m. to midnight or whatever it was, we'd be playing joints from Toronto, and it was so much of a success that the idea was kicked around to make it a regular part of the week. So you know, the show now runs Sunday through Thursday, 11 p.m. to midnight, and I think the response from that one day was so huge that it was like, yo, we got to do this. And you got to take in consideration, I know a lot of people have misconceptions about radio in the
yeah,
US. I hear a lot of times like, yo, they do this in the US, they don't, why aren't we doing that? I think a lot of people would be amazed to find out that they don't do like see what we're doing, Made in Toronto Takeover. That doesn't happen on Hot 97. That doesn't happen on Power in LA. That doesn't happen on Real 92 in LA. That does You don't hear the street artists or the artists from the city who haven't blown up yet. You don't hear them on the radio.
yep, you
Like
do.
you might see something a one-off here and there through the mix show, but like every single day,
Nah, you don't hear that.
5 days a week. Nah, you're not hearing that. That
Nah,
doesn't happen. So, the opportunity to do something like that here in Toronto, once the opportunity was presented, I was like, yo, let's do this. Cause that's really been like what I've been about, for most of my career is breaking local talent. Like,
yo,
if we go back to, you said Page, I think we were like probably one of the first DJs in the club to play Page. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Drake, like I'm not trying to take any fucking anything from his career, but yeah, like we were the first DJs to stop the music and be like, yo, y'all need to be up on this dude, you know what I mean? And that was the case with a lot of artists. And it's not like it was for clout or anything. It was for people to appreciate what we got going on here in our own city, because at one point in time the city was called the Screwface capital for a reason.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nobody was messing with you here unless you were popular elsewhere. So I kind of wanted to change that.
Fact.
And when the opportunity came for me to be involved in the Made in Toronto takeover, that was really what drew me to the station. As well, I'm on during the day, right? Like I'm on 2 to 7 doing
Yeah.
the radio vibes, but
Mhm.
it's real special when I can hop on at 11 and shine a spotlight on what's happening here in the city.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's really dope, man. Like you said, they're not doing this anywhere else. So that's why I was trying to
Nah,
tell, that's why I always tell artists I work with, I'm like, man, you guys got it good. You guys got it easy out here. Cause like if you go out, you guys be trying to go to the stage, trying to do all that, you're not gonna get as much opportunities that you get in Canada, especially when with the grants available,
right.
with the radio station playing y'all music now, connecting with you guys. As much there's not like a lot of radio stations, but like they doing what they can. Like it's not like
Yeah.
you guys don't have to do this. You feel me?
No, no, and I think a lot of people. I mean, we're in a streaming age, right? And sometimes I'm not like throwing shade on any artist or whatever, but sometimes I'll be talking to artists. I'm like, yeah, my record played at 11 o'clock, big deal. But I'm like, I don't think you realize how much people could be listening at any given time. There's about 500,000 people listening to Flow. I think it's like whatever that a rough estimate, right? So at 11 o'clock, like there could be a big percentage of people that are listening, you know what I mean? And I've heard through the grapevine that every time we might play an artist, it's connected to that artist streaming numbers going up the days after, because a lot of people still tap into radio to see what's going on. You'd be
Of course.
surprised, not everybody is on Spotify or Apple Music, not everybody's streaming. You got to remember, radio is free, you know what I mean? So you could turn on the radio at any time.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. You
think
good.
it provides an opportunity where some artists don't realize how much of a dope look it is. You know what I mean? And yes, it happens at 11, but that doesn't happen anywhere else. That never happened here in the city. You'd be happy to get your song spun once a week 10, 15 years ago. I think maybe the only other market that does what we're doing here is maybe Atlanta. They
Yeah,
have a whole culture of showing love to Atlanta artists, right? But
yeah.
I mean, for a corporation like Stingray to be able to be like, all right, let's go ahead and do this and support it, that's major, man. Like that's giving a platform to artists that I think even the artists don't realize at times how important it is.
It's true. The artists don't realize as me as like a record label owner, like a so-called manager, somewhat, right? A&R. I be trying to show artists, even that flyer when I work with you with this artist I was working with, even that cover art you gave me. I'm like, this is legendary for you to even able to get that cover art and be able
Mm,
to get your song spin on the radio. Like you have to be really grateful and appreciative for what the creatives in the city trying to do.
right,
You know what I mean? Because they
right,
don't really
yeah.
have to do these things. You feel me? So what I wanted to ask you, like, is kind of like the artists in the city, especially the DJs. Like when I was doing the club thing and things like that, I feel like there was a super disconnect with the DJs in the clubs not playing the songs, not playing the hip hop songs in the club from the city. So what's up with that disconnect? Like why is that? Why so many DJs don't feel like playing records? Like
Listen, I'll be honest with you, having conversations with some DJs, a lot of DJs are like, you know what, it's not worth the headache, right? Like you could play one artist and somebody else is upset that you're playing that artist because they got issues with they got polys going on with them, right? So I think the politics has the DJs being like, if somebody's finna run up on me about playing a record, then I'm not gonna play anybody's record. Like
true,
it's
true
just
that.
not worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you definitely right about that, man. But at the same time, me myself as a promoter, I never really like ran away from the politics. I just rock with whoever rock with me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was rocking with Biz Loke at the time. Biz Loke came to the club, did a performance. You know what I mean? I never really thought about the politics and everything he was involved. I just always seen him as like the artist, as somebody that needs to support. Because I feel like a lot, even though a lot of these artists got got some type of trouble, but a lot of them need the support. You feel me? A lot.
Right.
You might not play a song have like some polys and things like that, but you might play some other records. You know that not every record has
Yeah,
some.
yeah, that's the and you know, I have this conversation with a lot of people because a lot of people assume that the Toronto rap scene is all
Nah, man.
street dudes making music
Nah, man.
and with street polys, and that's not the case. You know what I mean? That's maybe what you see on the blog pages on IG because that's what gets clicks, that's what gets eyes. But there's a gang load of artists that have nothing to do with the streets. Be like, I mean, like lately I've been really rocking with Dylan Ponders. You know what I mean? His vibe
I
is
tell
just
you,
like
man.
super dope. He's making really dope music. And then the list goes on. There's a gang load of artists that have no street politics
No
that are
problems,
making
man.
really
It's
dope
just
music. You know what I mean? It's just, yes, there are like, you know, life is life, streets is the street. So there's gonna be issues. It's just somehow we got to get over that when it comes to the people pushing the music, the people that are there to provide some sort of infrastructure.
facts.
You know what I
Facts.
mean? Like I've had guys come at me like, yo, why are you playing this dude? Why are you playing that dude? I'm like, well, the other option is I don't play anybody and I just fall back and say, you know what? I don't want to do the takeover anymore because it's too much headaches. And there's
Yeah.
been times where my DMs are blowing up and you know, it's just getting out of hand. And I'm like, listen, man, you got to appreciate what's happening because I end my show at 7 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Like at 2 to 7, I'm done. I don't need to be coming on at 11 again to do the takeover. I do it for the culture. I do it because it's an outlet for people to get their music heard and for people to get familiar with the artists coming out of the city. So, you know, it's kind of upsetting sometimes when people take issue with that. Like you just got to take the music for what it is, and if you got issues in the street, yo, go ahead, handle your issues in the street. But I think there was like a post where I seen somebody coming after like a videographer, and I'm
Dude.
saying if you're gonna do that, then go to Spotify's door, go to Apple's door.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
go,
Don't
go,
come at the dude
go to record
that's
labels.
from the city. Yeah, go to the record labels doors. You know what I mean? Go to like Sony if that's what you're gonna do. But don't try to like if you're not gonna go at the corporations, don't come at the the videographer who's just trying to offer a service. You feel me? Now maybe a videographer here and there crosses the line. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about like the DJ, for instance, that's complaining like, yo, Ricochet, I ain't finna be playing nobody's music because a man's trying to mash up my laptop when I'm playing. Like, don't come at that dude. He's just supporting the scene in general.
Yeah, yeah,
Take
yeah.
your issues up with whatever. If you're gonna have an issue with the DJ, then you better have an issue with the DSPs as well.
You
You know what I
definitely
mean?
right
If
about
that's
that.
if you're gonna have an issue, you better have an issue with everybody. But a lot of times the artists are not gonna go at Spotify or whatever because they're like,
Who they gonna go at? They don't. It's just there's no face to that. There's no
there's no
face to the
face to it,
competition.
right?
You know what I mean? There's no face to it. But yeah, you definitely right about that, man. It's just I just feel like the city's growing, and I feel like the more opportunities that's coming along for the artists, a lot of artists are starting thinking outside of the box. You know, they start
Right.
thinking
Yeah.
like, yo, you know, that's big. That's bigger than the block. That's bigger than the
Of
politics.
course.
You feel me? I feel like a lot of artists, some of them that are stuck here that can't go to the states, the only thing they could do if they mention some type of op or whatever it may be, that's what's getting the clicks, that's what's getting the views, that's what's getting the listeners. You know what I mean? If you look at these blogs, that's the only thing that's trying to get the listener. That's why I kind of my best to trying to stay away from these things.
Right.
Is I trying to shed light on other things that's happening in the city. You know what I
Right.
mean?
But you know, when all the music is about, and it doesn't even like the music's the music, but when all the social media and everything else is about that, you're closing the doors on a lot of other opportunities because somebody or some entity or label might not want to mess with you because they feel that that's all you're on. Now I could be wrong, right? I could be wrong, but you're not going to get those corporate partnerships. You're not going to get certain looks when all you're promoting is the ops. You
Yeah,
feel me? So the like quote unquote ops have been in music since the inception of hip hop. There's nothing like, but when when we're starting to talk about continuously smoking on dead guys and this and that. I mean, the line gets crossed a little bit. And I think, that you kind of pigeonhole yourself as an artist in a box now. And it's kind of hard to get out that box if you're trying to If your goal is to be the next Drake, if your goal is to be the next the baby, if your goal is, I mean, we could take a situation from Lil Durk right now over the weekend. His brother had passed away, and his uncle's asking him, please stop talking about this in the records. And you kind of see the growth of somebody like Lil Durk. And I would probably guess that over the next little while in his career, you're gonna see the content change a little bit
Yep,
because
yep.
I'm getting that he's understanding the bigger picture. That if you want to get to a certain level,
You got
you
it.
gotta, and I hate to say this because I'm one that I don't really like to play by the rules, but you gotta play by some of the rules. There gotta be some sort of um, acceptance of responsibility on what you're doing with your whole vibe and your music.
Facts, facts. What I wanted to ask you, right? I feel uh like hip hop was more like before. It was more like a trap, the trap gangsters. You know what I mean? It was more like a trappy vibe. It just
Mhm.
once the Chicago era came about with the Chief Keef, I feel like there was a big shift in this hip hop industry scene where it's kind of like it became so violent. You know what I mean?
Violent. Yeah. Now let's say for what it is. Now hip hop has always been violent, but it's been targeted towards quote unquote your ops, right? Like before
Yeah,
you mentioned whatever, you didn't get too specific in a song. Like there's a
specifically.
bunch of Mobb Deep records that are not nothing sweet about the records, but they weren't calling out a certain ends or calling out a certain person. It was kind of like subliminal, you know what I mean? And that kind of kept things on a level. But like you're absolutely right. Once drill came around, it changed the vibe of hip hop. Now, I'll say this much. I don't expect that to be the case forever. Everything comes in stages, right? Like in the early 90s, it was all about New York hard hip hop. Then as the 90s progressed, we get into the late 90s, early 2000s, all about this jiggy, getting fly, all about the money. Then we seen street music come back. Then things got a little weird around the 2010s and on, the mainstream vibe changed a little bit. Um, you know, Records starting to become a little bit more commercial with a mix of street. And now, like you said, once drill became popular, that's kind of the phase that we're in now. But if you look at the history of hip hop, everything has its time. So, am I sitting here thinking that this is the future hip hop forever? No. I think that this is what it is now. Eventually, you know, the vibe will progress or change.
So do you feel like it had a big influence on the Toronto hip hop scene, like the Chicago drill music?
Yeah, for sure, of course. But I think, like I said, it's not always just the music. I think it's social media has such a part to play in degrading the music. And when I say degrading the music, it takes away from the music because just because you got, I don't know, 50,000 followers on social media and maybe there's 1,000 people on the live. I don't know, whatever. You're popping on social media. A lot of those people are checking in to see who that person's talking about, but they're not, it doesn't translate into streams. A lot of people try to say, look, this and this is hella popping, but they forget, like I can look at the top 100 streamers in Canada and you'd be surprised.
You're not there.
99% it's not translating. So your Instagram followers are there kind of, I feel, for like the WWE, the wrestling antics. You know what I mean? They're there for the entertainment, but they're
Yeah.
not translating into listeners. You know what I mean? It's not translating into actual listeners and streams. So I think sometimes the social media is what is
You're
kind of
right.
blowing things out of proportion and kind of taking the music for a joke thing sometimes, if I'm being completely honest. You feel
Yeah,
me? It's
yeah,
like,
you
what about the music? Like
you're
I'm seeing
definitely right.
all this and all that, but what about, okay, this guy's calling out that guy, but where's the music in here? Like other than a 15-second clip, is anybody, how much people are translating and going to listen to the music? So I think the antics are, maybe taken away from the actual numbers.
You definitely right. That's a good point that you point out because like over the years just working in the scene, I feel like social media really kind of like affected even the things that's happening in the city, all pretty much based on social media of somebody
Yeah,
liking a post, somebody leaving a comment, calling somebody a goof. I
yeah.
feel like the word goof being a word that created a
This is
lot.
a regular word, like a goof, like bro, like I don't know. When I was coming up, you called a man a goof. That was some big talks, b. That was the most disrespectful thing you can call a man. For anybody that's did any time, that like you call a man a goof, bro. That's
Yeah,
you can't call a man anything. But mans are throwing around them words like a goof, this, goof, that, and it's just whatever. And and it's kind of for the net, right? I've heard stories where like, oh, I bucked into so and so, and it was just like, no, it's all love, bro. That was just for the net, for whatever. But it's like, when did that happen? You know what I mean? And I think, is Chicago drill music to blame, or is the success of somebody like Takashi 69, does that play a part in it? Because I think because you never really seen Chief Keef or whatever on the net. You never seen Dirk on the net. You never seen King Von on the net. You never seen whatever. I can name a countless amount of dudes out of the shot. You never seen them on the net banging like that. Like net banging wasn't really a thing until we seen the popularization of Tekashi
Actually,
69.
oh yeah,
And you see
big.
somebody who's maybe not a great rapper, who maybe doesn't make the greatest songs, but all the antics is getting him the looks.
Yo, man, you put you saying the major all the good points at this shit. Like you
Right? Like, and look,
basically
and
just like
again, the social media antics, does it translate into sales or streams? Because look at his last album.
it's
Did
shoot.
nothing.
It's true. You definitely right about that. That's why I was trying to tell artists like, you really gotta like tap in with the people that's really supporting you instead of relying on the streams. A lot. I feel like these days artists are relying on these numbers so much, and they're not even like connecting with the people that's really supporting them, or even tapping in with the DJs. I like, bro, did you make a DJ pack? Did you get the radio edit done? Like, let's try to get the song on the radio. Let's send a DJ pack out. Let's send some merch out. I feel like a lot of artists solely focusing on the facade of the numbers of the streams, not connecting on the radio, not knowing like people are still listening to the radio. The DJs are still out there. I feel like people forget the art of the DJs, especially in this hip hop scene in Toronto. People forget about the DJs. So why do you feel like there's a big disconnect with the DJs and the artists nowadays?
And I don't think that's the case with everybody, but I think we're at a lane where some artists just think that like the DJ doesn't mean much because like I said, you go back to social media, and if a DJ has, I don't know, 8,000 followers, 5,000 followers, they're like, what is that DJ gonna do for me? What is that one spin in the club gonna do for me versus my 50,000 followers on Instagram? I think a lot goes back to social media. And then listen, don't get me twisted, like social media is a very important part of an artist's whole repertoire, right? Like you want to be able to connect with your fans. You want to be able to give a insight to your life via social media for your fans to connect with you. And listen, if street shit happens on the net, street shit happens on the net. But my thing is, it just can't be all street shit and just going back and forth. Like at some point in time, give me another look, right? Like I want to see something else. Like what else are we talking about here? Like
Yeah,
what else is going on? Like it almost feels a little one dimensional. So I think it's just a lack of, and believe me, there's some artists, a lot of artists who know that the DJ is important and go the extra route or go the extra mile to like make sure they connect with the DJ and create a relationship. But I'll say this, a DJ is not gonna want to fuck with you if you come on a vibe like, yo, this is my shit, B, play that shit and
yeah.
done. No, like a DJ, you got to create a relationship. You got to create a rapport, and that goes with anybody in the industry because the
Facts.
more you create, like I tend to go hard on some things like repost for people that I kind of like. If I fuck with you already,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm more likely to put other people onto your music because
yeah,
I fuck with you as a person, and I think that goes a long way of creating relationships. Like I said before we started recording, it's been 20 plus years for me
yeah.
in this business. I've been able to do that based on relationships. You know
Facts,
what I mean? And maintaining relationships,
facts.
not burning bridges. You don't know when you're gonna, need somebody or need to lean
True.
on somebody down the road, right? So even if I don't fuck with you, it's cool. Like just maybe I just take a break. You know what I mean? I don't need to let the world know I don't fuck with you. You feel me?
Yeah,
That's my business.
facts.
Maybe we can mend whatever issues we have down the road, but I'm definitely not gonna just say fuck it unless you did me super dirty,
Yeah,
then that's a different story, right? But I don't think artists are spending enough time curating those relationships with the DJs.
you're definitely right about that. Li- that relationship building relationships plays a major role, especially in this music industry. And I was
Mm,
also reading an article on you before I did this interview, and you mentioned like there's about 500 plus rappers or artists in the city, but there's like 10 managers. And I'm like, damn, you definitely damn right. You right. There's about 10 managers, and it's so hard to connect with artists and to actually build that professional communication and building up. Especially when I was doing shows, I was directly dealing with artists. They had no managers. They didn't even know how to communicate. They
Right.
wasn't coming on time for the time slot to perform. They wasn't sending their radio edits. They wasn't sending their songs in. So how what like how do you feel like the role of the manager plays an important role for artists? Like,
I think we need to remember at the end of the day, this is called the music business,
yeah,
right? So it's
yeah,
a business. So you need to be able to, if you don't have a manager, you need to be able to be up on your business. And there's no problem with artists managing themselves up to a certain point,
yeah,
but you can't be lacking on the business, right?
yeah,
So, I mean, everybody wants to be a rapper, everybody wants to be a producer. Only like, I can't tell you how much records I get, and it's just trash. I'm like, why do you want to be a rapper? Like, you know, being a rapper is good if you can actually rap. Otherwise, there's other things to do if you want to be part of the music business. Being a manager is one of them. Like I remember, like this is totally different, but I remember giving somebody advice maybe 10 years ago. I'm like, listen, everybody's a real estate agent. If you want to get to the bag right now, everybody and their mother's a real estate agent. You need to be a mortgage broker.
yep, yeah,
You know what I mean? Because not everybody wants to be a mortgage broker, right? Because it's not cool. You're not like, showing off multi-million-dollar houses and driving around all day. You're not, but that person heeded that advice. And now they're like, yo, that's some of the best advice you gave me. So the same thing with managers, right? Like if everybody's a rapper, you want to look around to see what you can do to service that industry. So okay, there's rappers, that means we need managers, we need grant writers, we need whatever the situation, we need booking agents. So it's just you're how far are you going to go without a manager? At some point in time, you need to be able to hold a conversation in a professional manner. That's like it took me a long time to learn that, bro. I was knuckleheaded, causing all kinds of shit in the clubs, and kind of ruining opportunities for myself until I got to a certain point where I'm like, all right, we need like maybe it's not best that I'm the one that's drunk at the end of the night talking with the club owner or promoter. Maybe let my my manager handle all that, so I'm not possibly doing something I shouldn't be doing or coming off like I'm not professional.
yep, yep, yep.
Um, and that's it. When you get into the boardroom, you need to be able to know how to handle yourself. And if you can't do that, then that's where the manager comes into play, right? Like a manager's job is to get you over the hump, is to get you in the door that you're not going to be able to get into. And simple things like sending a radio edit. I can't tell you how much times I get an email, somebody sending me a song, and it's just a song name. And I don't know who I just delete it. I'm like, I don't know who this is. Like, where's like I can't spend extra time trying to figure out and Googling and
Facts.
jamming a record. Like, nah, that's not my job. My job is like, all right, I'm here to give you the look, but prepare your shit to make sure it's ready for what I'm about to do with it. You know what I mean? So,
Dope, dope.
and a lot of guys don't even know that there's grants. Like, we live in a country where if you're doing numbers, the government got money here to support you. They got a bag for you. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of grants. There's Factors grants, Star Maker grants. It goes on and on and on. And a lot of times the artists themselves um, are not able to deal with that. They just don't understand it. They just don't know how to get to a grant writer. So, in positions like that, a manager is there to serve that situation for you and help you get that done. Maybe even help you get set up with SoCan so your publishing is right, or take you into Factor and let you know that, oh, Factor or SoCan, they have a studio out in LA. So when you're in out LA, you can stay in that house and record in that studio. A lot of people don't know that shit, but a manager would know that shit, right? And that's what you want to take advantage of. If you want to grow your career beyond Instagram, then that's where I think a manager is important. And I think a lot more people need to take that seriously. And like a manager, as much as I hate to say it, doesn't mean that they're just your best friend who's like, you need to look at somebody. And if your best friend wants to do that, then your best friend needs to do some research and educate themselves on becoming a manager. Right. I hear a lot of people say, i.e., I'm so and so's manager. But then when you start talking business, dudes be clueless. And you're like, bruh, you're doing this dude a disservice by trying to represent him, and you're not ready to do that. Right. Like you can't go in the kitchen and cook a meal if you ain't got a recipe. If you
You
don't know
definitely
how the
about that.
ingredients go together, if you don't know what tastes good together, how
Yep.
the fuck you finna cook a meal? You can't cook a meal. The shit's finna taste like doo doo, b. Nobody want to eat that. Same thing with music, right? If you don't know how to connect the dots, that artist's career is gonna end where you begin.
Facts. You're definitely right about that.
So, I would love to see us take things to the next step and start working on the business, because the music is there. Is the business there though?
Yeah, the business. Yeah, the business is lacking. That's why I had a previous guest in the podcast, Gavin Shepard. You was also talking about him with the remix project.
Mm,
What I mean, I give him his flowers as well, and I tell him
hell
like,
yeah.
yo, you did a lot of things for the city. You know what I mean? As much people not might not give you the flowers that you deserve, I give him the flowers for even opening doors and actually giving the space where creatives could go and learn the business and learn how to be professional and connecting with the right people in the industry.
Right.
You know what I
And a
mean?
lot of, and you see the few managers and people that are they're doing it right come out of that,
Right there.
right? That's the infrastructure
Facts.
that's there, right? And it's also, we live in Toronto, still the screwface capital. Don't get it twisted. No, there's
Trust me, I
always
know.
that.
No, I
There's
know.
always that mentality, not with everybody, but I come across a lot. Yo, I don't want to beg. I don't beg no man. I'm not begging a man nothing.
Oh
That
man.
pride sometimes will kill you, because I learned that the hard way. I mean, I've been in situations where my career could have took off in a whole different level, but I had that pride, that fucked up, kind of hood Toronto mentality, that was like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this on my own. I'm not begging nobody. And that's just me not wanting to pick up the phone to ask somebody, yo, is there a grant for this? And if so, how do I do this grant? Like, a lot of people don't want to pick up the phone to call somebody and be like, yo, how do I do this? Even today, like, if I have a management question, I have no problems picking up the phone and hitting up maybe a Gav or a Lucas. I don't have no problems doing that, because that's what they do. If they have something to do with radio, they might hit me up and be like, yo, is this, you know what I mean? And that's, we need to connect those dots a little bit more.
Yeah, yo, man, you definitely right about that. And what Gavin was saying, like, I was like, how come there's not a lot of remix project? And he was saying like, we can't focus on everybody. We can't put everybody in. Plus, the opportunities in the music industry is not like wide where everybody could be a rapper, everybody
Right.
could be a producer. You know what I mean? That's why
Right.
they're very selective in who to select to put in the program. I'm like, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's not there's not opportunities for photographers everywhere, for DJs everywhere. So
Right.
it makes a lot of sense. So you definitely right. You hitting the nails on the coffin right now. You got all the points
Man,
down.
listen, we learn from mistakes, right? And
Yeah.
I've made a gang load of mistakes, my guy. Like, I've made enough mistakes to know that, all right, there's another way to look at things. Feel me?
But yeah, but with everything that's going on in the city, uh, especially just the disconnect with the culture, because I feel like the way the city had hip hop on lock, especially with Drake, Tory Lanez, and Nav just coming out. Yeah, they got this hip hop shit on lock. Like it's like I feel like there's been a stop. You know what I mean? It's like the door kind of like started closing down a little bit.
I think that has to do with, like, first of all, if you're a rapper here in Toronto, where are you gonna perform? If you're a rapper with a certain stigma attached to you,
Uh,
no venue, no venue. And believe me, I've had meetings with venue, with club owners, no venue is finna have you in the club performing, because it ain't worth it. It's not worth whatever they're gonna do at the bar or the door for a possible homicide in the parking lot.
yeah, I see.
And that's the problem, right? The street shit bleeds in to the actual business. So that's where things kind of halt. If you can't, and that's where kind of the idea is, you got to go elsewhere to make it. Now, that reason is because we don't allow ourselves the opportunity to make it here in our own cities, because we kind of isolate ourselves by, and sometimes it might not be the rapper's fault or whatever. It's just shit happens, right? But it goes back to, if you got an issue on Instagram, that issue finna follow you, bro. It ain't finna stay on social media.
You
So if
right.
you want to bark at this person or bark at that person for the shits and giggles, that might translate into a problem on the streets, and vice versa. Sometimes the street shit leads into social media, but I think the lack of being able to perform and gather and network and be in the same place, that's going to hinder the growth.
Okay, you right. You definitely right, man. Because the Weeknd and Drake, they had that opportunity to
Yeah,
perform at Sound Academy, perform at
yeah.
all these places, and that kind of I feel like performing in front of a group of people did help them a lot to grow as an artist. You know, even Pressa was able to kind of like perform at a couple venues
As a surprise artist, though, right? Because the
surprise
venues
artist.
already,
Yeah,
just hear that name and they're like, they're scared. They might not be up on what's going on or whatever, but I'm sure I'm sure the feds got something to do with that too, right? So
Yeah,
the
yeah,
feds are
yeah.
looking at it and be like, listen, we're not going to offer you paid duty officers if you have this person at your venue.
Yeah,
Now, I'm just speaking hypothetically. I
yeah.
don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah,
You feel me? And the cops are going to have a hard on for anybody that's really seems like a threat.
yeah, you're right. But what's the why the street music is more appealing nowadays than somebody making a laid back, a smoking music, or even like trap.
Wrestling,
Okay.
right? Why do you watch wrestling? Do you watch it really for the moves? Do you watch it for the dude coming off the top rope, or do you watch it for the shit talking that happens in between?
Yeah, okay.
Do
Okay.
you watch it for the beefs, the kind of like, now that's just entertainment, right? But I think it's human nature, right? And especially as generations come along, I feel like this generation, they don't like,
It's not
I'm not
entertainment.
saying they want somebody to die, but it kind of like they're feeding into that. They're feeding into every process that will lead up to somebody dying. They're egging on. Like sometimes rappers don't even want to be involved in this beef, but it's the fans that are like, even me, man. Most recently, I'm trying to avoid looking. I'm not trying to look at my comments and take it that deep, like to go back at the troll. Somebody had to tell me, yo, ease up, bro. Don't let the trolls like get you responding and shit. You feel me? But but the fans be doing that. The fans be like, yo, you're not gonna say nothing, you're not gonna do nothing. Oh, you're weak. Oh, you're not about that street life. Oh, da 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 da. Or vice versa. I think I seen Roadrunner post something on his page like, if you're out the streets, they say you're soft. If you're in the streets, they say, oh, he's in the streets. He ain't really taking this rap shit serious. So it's the
Right?
fans that are perpetuating the violence almost to an extent because they're feeding the fire, man. They're adding gas to the flames, bro. Like, and it's I think it's just human nature that we like to see rivalries. You know what I mean? Like, look how big the Pac and Biggie beef was. Look how Vibe magazine, look how all publications and media entities kind of just fed into that. Now, when we seen the outcome of that, I think everybody took a step back. You know, I think like magazines, bloggers, everybody says like maybe we need to take a different approach. But that's like a whole different generation. That's gone now. Um, but now I think it's the people want the beef.
You right about that. The people want the beef, and I feel like one artist that's been able to kind of like play it off right and just take the L in the public, but also win behind the scenes and win and get the W is Drake. Drake's been able to kind of control his narrative his whole career. Even
Mhm.
when he's been in disputes and things like that, he's been able to kind of like diffuse the situation and still be able to get number one on the billboards, getting all these awards, getting all these streams, and just forget the battle that he had because he knows the people's around. I feel like the people around you kind of like influence the things you do as well, right?
Right. But let's also take in consideration that Drake is an anomaly. Drake is a Michael Jackson, a Michael Jordan, a Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? A lot of Mikes in there, but he's one of those dudes that come around once every 40 years.
Fact.
Whether it be the Beatles, whether it be Michael Jackson, now it's Drake.
Yeah.
Right. So
Fact.
every 34 years, 30 or 40 years, somebody comes around like that just does shit that like nobody else even fathomed doing. But you brought up a good point. The people around him kind of keep him leveled and realize, and that comes back to having a manager or having the right people in your camp, kind of guiding you the right way. You know what I mean? But like, listen, don't get sidetracked on the bullshit. We got to get to the bag. The whole goal is to get to the bag, right? Like, why do a lot of people rap? Because why did I become a DJ? Because I was tired of living in a building with fucking roaches and rats and piss in the elevator and homeless people, crackheads in the staircase. Like I didn't want to live like that for my whole life. The first opportunity I had to get up out the hood, we was out of that bitch. Like as soon as I can get my mama out of there, we were gone. I wasn't looking back. I want to
Fact.
go to the burbs. I want to go where people are mowing their lawn, where there is no piss in the elevator.
Yeah, man, get your own, gotta live in a condo, nice ass, get a
You
pool.
feel me? Like, so the goal is to get the bread, get the bag, and get up out of your situation and bring everybody else with you out of that situation.
That's the goal.
So you're almost scratching your head why somebody would want to do something or give you advice to keep you there. That's why it's called a trap.
Yup.
Why is it called a trap? Because it'll trap. You'll be trapped. You'll be
Yo,
trapped.
this guy should be a public speaker
You feel me?
with the
You know,
gem dropping.
you know, the buckets are trapped, trapped into the food. The man serving is trapped in the lifestyle.
Yep, yep. It's
You're
the
addicted to that lifestyle. You're addicted to money. You're addicted to the problems sometimes. Like as much as you say you don't want them, sometimes when you just can't get out of it, it's what feeds you. But it's also the people around you. Who are you keeping around you? If there's nobody, if everybody is just trying to feed you into the fire and nobody's trying to, drop some knowledge on you, be like, yo, bro, I think we can get out of this situation and make it to LA. We can make it to Miami. We could
yeah, yeah, yeah.
make, what I mean? We could do that and we can move freely. At some point in time, it got to be like, and I look at Benji and I look at Coach and I look at like that whole vibe, and that's a good that is a good
And
example of somebody who's sidestepping the bullshit.
yeah, this guy just not even
Sidestepping the
talk.
bullshit. Like I
Just,
think they get the assignment.
they
You know what
get
I
it.
mean?
They
They
get it.
get the assignment. The assignments to make it, to get up out of the bullshit, not to be in a cell, a hospital bed, or in the floor, in the ground. It's to be in Dubai or wherever, making moves, connecting, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Getting fans, following. And I really rate Benji for that because I don't see no bullshit out of Benji. I don't see no nothing but the music speaks for itself.
facts,
You know
facts.
what I
It's
mean? And
one
I
thing.
appreciate that. And he got the right people around him too, right?
Yo, trust me, he's one of the rare artists in the city that I really appreciate the way he move. You know, you got that mystique beyond him. You know what I mean? He doesn't really like post wherever he's at. You never know where he's at.
Right.
Very
Now, does that translate into social media numbers? No.
when the
But
street.
does everybody else in the industry say like, "Yo, Benji's next"? Like,
No,
yo, that guy's super.
no.
So it doesn't. So that's a perfect example that you don't need to be involved in the mix-up for people to appreciate you, for people to know that you got something special. Sometimes you can just let the music speak for itself.
The music speaks for itself when it comes to this guy. That's why I
That's
rate him.
it.
That's why I
And
rate him.
I would love to see more of that. And there is a lot of that too. Like, let's not get it twisted. There is a lot of that. Like right
AR
now,
Pezzi,
I'm drawing a
AR
blank, but
Pezzi, AR Pezzi is one of them as well too. That's in the come.
yeah.
AR Pezzi stay away from the bullshit. But like talking about the like you said the environment, people and their team and things like that. I had an interview with Jay Prince, and I asked him that. I like how are you able to keep Drake level headed and just you know what I mean and just keep them out of trouble. He was like, yo, the reason why I'm able to keep Drake because he out of trouble level headed because he's listen. You know what I mean? Even though he's the biggest superstar in the world, but when I talk, he listen. You know what I
Right.
mean?
You want to listen to a guy like that. You want to listen to the people, like I said, who have made the mistakes. Right. Like I'm gonna listen to somebody who's made that mistake before, and they're trying to tell me, "Yo, I already fucked up on that, so don't make that mistake."
So you
It's
feel like
like saying, "Listen, you can get downtown," and a man tells me, "Avoid Bathurst. There's a pileup on there. You're gonna be sitting on Bathurst for 6 hours." And he's saying, "Go take the 401 to the DVP." But I'm like, "Nah, B. Why would I do that?" And then I'm sitting on Bathurst for 6 hours, asking myself, "Why was?" When the man told me, he said, like he was just on Bathurst, so he's tried to sidestep me across the shit. It's the same thing, right? Like I'm gonna listen, even in where I'm at in my career, I'm gonna still listen to my OG, and he's gonna tell me, "Nah, I fucked up on this already. So this is for you to know that you don't need to deal with that no more." And
that?
there's that is here. We're in a generation now where there's a lot of people that kind of been through the bullshit that can now offer some quality advice. The question now is anybody listening or asking? Or do people feel like I know everything? What does this person know? Like an old head. Old head know. Like, sometimes people be like, "Yo, what is this old head talking about?" Like, I listen if you want to listen. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. There's no nothing off my back. He's like, "Oh, he ain't in the streets." You're damn right I ain't in the streets, bro. Where am I supposed to be in the streets my whole fucking life? That's not a goal. That's not winning. That's an L, B. I'll be taking an L if I was still was where I was at.
Yo,
You
that's
know what I
what I
mean?
tell people, man. I don't go
Ducking the
back to
feds and
school.
ducking the ops. Why the hell would I want to do that, bro? I want to see my kids grow. I want to smoke some quality exotic loud. I want to, have a nice house. I want to be able to go
Facts.
where I want to go with no problems.
Facts. That's facts. You definitely right about that. So being able to listen, and I feel like the OGs in these environments need to play a major role in these kids as well. You know, being able to give them the right advice.
But everybody got to be open to it. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
You're not gonna have OGs run into people being like, "Let me help you." Nah, that's not gonna happen. Those are
Yeah,
still
yeah,
street dudes. Those are still dudes that came up. They're doing what they're doing. It takes it takes people to ask questions. It takes people to ask for help. It takes people to reach out. It takes people to build those relationships. Building relationships is one of the most important things in the music industry.
yeah. You
You
definitely
could
right
have
about that.
crazy music, but if you don't got the right connects and you cannot connect the dots, you will just be a person with dope music, and that's it.
Yeah, so how have you been able to keep most of your relationship over the years, knowing that like the city's like a school face city, people are only looking out for themselves, they're trying to step on toes to get ahead. How have you been able to kind of like maintain those relationships?
I tell people all the time, two things that kept me in this game this long is being humble and having some humility.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of times where I've been at the top of the game. We done one, like me and my mans, we done won awards, Canadian Club DJ of the Year, this, that, own nightclubs, been had a little bag, this, that, touring the world. But I never let that get to my head.
Hmm.
You feel me? Like, and once you're and being likable, bro, like just being a good person. Gee, like that's overrated at sometimes. You know what I mean? Just being a good person, people will mess with you. I forgot the question though. What was the question?
I'm saying, how have you been able to keep these relationships, knowing that there's people that's just looking out for themselves and trying to take
Yeah,
advantage?
I don't look at it where I'm gonna do something for somebody and expect something back. But don't
Yeah,
get it twisted. I'm not gonna continue to help you, and I know it's a one-sided situation, but I will always offer a hand when it's available. Like I might not be able to help everybody, but when I can, I'll give that person the opportunity. I'll plug that person in with someone else. And that's just how it goes. That's how we all gotta think. It might not come back to me from that person, but down the road, if it's a mentality that we have as a city where we all help each other, somebody else is going to circle back. Like my dude Wicked, DJ Wicked, right? So,
yeah,
I've hooked him up in certain situations. The Soldier Boy interview, his man hit him up and he's like, yo, let me connect you with my guy and do the Soldier interview. You feel me? Um, and that's just about maintaining good relationships and being humble and likability, man. Keeping yourself on a situation where you never burn a bridge, and sometimes it's you just got to hit people up for 5 minutes and be like, "Yo, what's cracking? Everything good? What's
yeah,
popping with you?" And sometimes it doesn't need to be on business. Just the genuine authenticity of caring about somebody. So it's not coming off where just like I only want to talk to you because I need something from you.
yeah.
And when I
Facts,
get those vibes, I'm just like, "Yo, fam, I'm gonna hit you back, bro." Because like all you hit me for is like you need me
facts,
for shit.
facts.
And once I'm not of use to you, it's like fuck you type vibe. So it's like, why am I gonna jump on that ship? You know what I mean? I'm gonna rather mess with somebody who who I look at like in my DMs. I mean, this person been talking for a while, and then now this person's saying, "Yo, but like, yo, you've created a relationship.
Yeah,
The first thing you did is you didn't ask me for something off the jump. You created a relationship. I got to know what you're all about. Now you're looking for something. If I can offer you some advice or I can do something to connect the dots, now I'm willing to do it because again,
you build that.
I like you. I like you. All right, you're good people. I'm gonna mess with you because you deserve it.
Fact. Okay, dope, dope. That's dope advice. Cause I was trying to like give people advice on how to move and how to connect the dots.
Humble,
People don't know how to do
humble, manas, humble. You
it.
understand? Like manas. Like let's be honest. We're all human beings. We all want to be treated with respect. Yeah, we're in the streets. I'm not in the streets anymore, but
I'm not.
I get it. Like
Yeah,
I
fuck
don't
the
have.
streets, bro. I'm saying it right now. Fuck the streets. We
Yeah,
buying
I
back
don't.
the
I'm a
block.
civilian
We
family. I
buying
don't live
back
in the
the block.
streets.
I'm showing
That's
people like I don't even rep no block. We buying back the block.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I still go back to my ends all the time, but like I'm not a street dude anymore. That's just not me. I'm not 25 no more, right? But
That's
you
dope.
just got to know whether you're in the streets or not in the streets. There's nothing wrong. It's not cool to be humble. Like you don't always got to be this like certain facade that you put on to like, nah, okay, you could do that in your music, but at some point in time you got to let the guard down a little bit and be a human being.
Fact. So how do you deal with that? I feel like myself as me doing this whole up next thing and just trying to connect artists. It's hard for me to connect artists because I feel like a lot of artists, not naming any names, they're taking shades. Is I feel like a lot of artists think they're bigger than they actually are. They move Hollywood. They're not trying to take opportunities that I'm trying to present to them. Because I remember when I was trying to do the a billboard at Young and Done that, so I reach out to a couple artists and they just they just act like they're bigger than me doing the doing the billboards for them at Young and Done that.
Again, that comes down to social media, kind of, and it might not be the artist's fault because you might feel like you reach a certain accolade in your career once you've hit social media likes, followers, this, that they're like, somebody asked me, like, yo, how come you ain't got 30,000 followers? Because I didn't go buy any followers. That's not something I was finna do. You know what I mean? I just, my interaction is great and it's organic and I'm happy with that. Like, I don't need my numbers to, followers to let me know how successful I am in life. You feel me? And sometimes that's all that, it comes from a lack of not being educated on the game. Like I said, we can go back and talk about this all the time. Your followers, your social media could be popping, but if your numbers ain't popping, if your streams are not popping, you can't tell me you're popping. And I can go look at the top 300, never mind the top 100 Canadian streamers. I can go top 300
Wow.
and 90% nobody's on there. It's all people you've never heard of before.
Dude, people you never heard before. Even when I look at the when I go to Apple Music and I look at the Canada Top 100, I'm like, damn, I don't see no artist on
No,
the video.
no, no, not like on the streamers. You might see them whatever pop up, but when you actually look at the streaming numbers from
Yep.
all DSPs combined,
Wow.
right? What do you see there? You're not not seeing nobody. And that's where, like, a good example of somebody who, like, look at Havaya Mighty, look at Toby, look at these individuals who are not on the
Gonna
net
rate.
all the time
Gonna
looking
rate.
for attention, just focused on the music, and they've transcended Canada.
Yeah.
Havaya Mighty was named one of 21 people to look out for by GQ magazine in Australia.
Mustafa as
Star
well.
for the Poet was on Jimmy Kimmel, right? Or Jimmy Fallon, whatever it was.
Fallon, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he was on Fallon, right? Like,
Crazy. That's crazy.
but he's not on there all the time. It's like, if rappers spend as much time on the business as they did online, you would see a drastic change in the outcome. Now, don't get me twisted. Some rappers can do that. Some rappers, their social media activity translates into the streams,
Yeah,
into the YouTube numbers, and it gets them to check. That works for some people. And those people are doing whatever they're doing, but it doesn't mean that's going to work for everybody.
yeah.
That's
Facts.
the thing. I think some people see it work for a small, a handful of individuals, and they say, I'm going to do that. No, they did that and worked for them. It's time. You got to find your own thing. Like
Facts.
Coyle Ray, she got on the YouTube, she got like cooking with Coyle Ray. That's her thing. That's a way for her to connect with her fans. And I became a fan off of seeing her doing the cooking shit. I was like, oh man, she seems like a real down to earth person. And I went in and looked at more music. And I was like, all right. Before that, I was like, she's cool. But once I got to know her as a person via the YouTube and what she was doing, she wasn't chirping with nobody. She wasn't going back and forth. She was nah. And even if that is the case and she has those issues, like she did with her father, it kind of like, moved away and she's focusing on other things. And I think as much as we want to focus on the negative, as you focus on the positive, more people can relate to that. More people can relate to Coyle Ray making guacamole than they can
Yeah.
to slide in on an ops block. Because let's be honest, everybody behind a keyboard ain't doing that.
Man, they're not doing that, man. They're not doing
Otherwise, the murder rate would be out of this world here. You feel
that.
me?
Trust
Now,
me.
obviously, we got issues here in the city, but like my thing is like, because it works, for for a handful of people, it doesn't mean that every rapper needs to follow that blueprint, because that's not the case. It's not going to work for everybody, especially if you're not really with the shits.
Facts, facts.
If you're not with the shits, don't try to get yourself into that lifestyle, bro.
Facts.
It's not going to end up well for you.
Man, trust me, man. I don't talk when niggas diss me, man. I don't talk back. I'm like, cause I'm not with the shits. My nigga, I'll sue your ass. I be ready to sue niggas, cause I ain't going back and forth with niggas, man. My nigga, I tell my lawyers send that cease and desist. You know, listen, we go to court. Like, I ain't trying to go
That's
like.
the business side, right? That's the business
I'm
side.
straight
And
business.
some things need to be handled like that, because don't forget, the feds are watching.
Man, I'm straight business, man. Like
The
I'm straight.
feds are watching.
A lot of,
Watching.
and the thing is, like you said, the feds are watching. A lot of these artists, or a lot of people, or again, not because what they do on social media, what they do on these IG live, what they post on their stories, what they say in these comments and things like that. A lot of people are getting locked up because of shit like that. So you're definitely right about them watching. It might be these fake accounts that those might be the feds. You know what I mean?
The best analogy I like to use is, don't be Frank. Was it Frank Lucas? Don't be American Gangster wearing the fur coat to the fight. If you don't want that attention. Same thing happens. Like, if you ever watch that movie, when Denzel wears the fur coat, that was the end of it. The feds was like, boom, there he is. Same kind of thing, right? Like, if you want to succeed as an artist, maybe don't attract unwanted attention, because
Facts,
that is just all that's going to do is have the entities that be against you. And
facts.
that just makes things harder. Like, you don't want to climb a mountain where rocks are falling every 2 seconds and boulders are. You want to climb a mountain where okay, you can make it up safely and get to the top eventually. But if you got boulders flying off that mountain every 2 minutes and you're ducking and dodging, you're spending more time ducking and dodging the bullshit than you are able to building your brand and your business and your career.
Big dog, facts. You're definitely right about that. just just shifting the conversation to more of the DJ side, and I'm not even gonna
Yes,
hold
please.
long. I got a couple more questions for you, right? So what I wanted to ask you, right? I feel like always talk about radio. They say radio, uh, makes superstars. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If you're on the radio 24/7, it makes superstars. So, like, how much it really take to get a radio campaign to get something really going? Like, cause I
So
feel like
radio makes stars into superstars.
okay, okay,
Radio doesn't make superstars, right? You're not going to be coming out of your bedroom and then get put on radio and then all of a sudden you expect to be a superstar. That's not going to happen. What radio does is radio takes a star and turns them into a superstar, turns them into a megastar, has them top 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 or on rhythmic radio or hip hop radio charts. Like that's what that'll do. So you need to, and I get this all the time. Like I only have a certain amount of spots I can play on the takeover. So let's say it's about 130 records I can put in there, and that gives it a 2 week rotation, right? So somebody will get their song played maybe once every 2 weeks. If it's hot, maybe a little more than that. But like when I look at submissions, if you ain't got nothing else going on, if there's no videos on YouTube, if all you're hoping for is me playing your record to build your career, you are not ready for radio. You need to go back to like I'm step 15. You need to go back to step 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when everything else is so the main thing is somebody hears your music on the radio, they Google your name or they click that link, and then it opens up the world of what you're doing to them and they can become a fan, right?
yeah,
The and I'm not like when we say radio making superstars, we're talking about regular rotation, 20 times a day, songs playing, right?
yeah,
Because radio is based on familiarity. A lot of
yeah,
people are like, well, why is the radio always play songs? Because it's based on familiarity. It's expecting people to only be listening 15, 20 minutes at a time. And then you jump out of your whip, you go to the bank, you come back in, right? So you want that regular rotation. You got to have everything else to back it. You need to have a marketing budget. And I'm not just talking about and no disrespect to what you're doing, but yeah, if somebody gets a billboard through you, they got to have more than that,
facts.
right? Like you want to have the billboard to promote your whole world. A good example is Goldie London, right? Like she's coming out the gate hard now, but there's everything surrounding her. She has it looks like she has her business right, her marketing's right, the visuals are right, the image is right. So I will get behind somebody like Goldie London and do what I can do to push that because I believe once somebody types her up, the world of Goldie London opens up to them. And I'm just using her as an example,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, you can't expect radio to do it all for you.
yeah.
Just like you can't expect social media to do it all for you. You gotta play, you gotta put everything into each component to building that whole thing. Like if we're using the analogy of going back into the kitchen, you gotta have all the ingredients before you finna make a dope dish.
Facts.
So like, and a lot of people like, oh, I need to get on rate. Nah, you need to worry about the rest of your shit first. Make sure your business is right. Make sure you got a website at the very least, or make sure if I Google you, shit's popping up, not just some weak ass links. You feel me? Like I can see like shit's going in for you. Like, okay. And that
Facts.
doesn't mean you got to be a superstar. You just got to have all your ducks in order. You needed to do this. Like your shit got to be like, don't spend $100 mixing your record and you tell me you want to be show me that you went to the dopest dude to mix the record. You spent the guap, the shit sounds super nice, and you got your rollout. Like you got a rollout going on. But yeah, no, radio does not make superstars
Regular.
uh
Regular.
out of people who are in this in the early stages of their career. Now, don't get it twisted. There is an exception to every rule, right? But the reality is, by the time you hit radio, you're already a star.
Facts.
People are already, and I'm not talking about 20,000 followers on Instagram either and 500 people on a live. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the numbers already support. Like most radio stations are not going to pick up your record until you hit top 200 Canadian streamers here in Canada.
Jeez.
Same situation in the US. They're not going to pick your shit up if the numbers don't support it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's just the reality.
Yeah, so you're right. That's dope information you're giving out right now. So I really appreciate that. So I'm not gonna hold you for too long. I got a couple more questions for you before I let you go. Uh, Rush is always talking about being independent and owning your masters and things like that. He actually went and signed with one of these record labels. Then
Who's
after
that?
Russ the rapper.
Russ. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So now he's independent. He was, and I was watching the interview he was doing. He was like, the only thing these record labels provided him was the playlisting in radio. He was
Okay.
like, once you have a budget for radio, you could do that on your own and be independent on your own. If you have the budget to spend over $100,000, $500,000 to do radio campaign, you could do that on your own.
And that's on the low end. Hey, like work a record at radio, you better have $1 million ready.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So
Now
that's
you're
how
talking
much.
about really working a record. Like you're working a record cross north, not just on Flow, because you remember Flow's the only hip hop station here in Canada,
But okay,
right? So you're trying to get your record working. There's a lot that comes with that. Now, yeah, you can get your record in there, but expect to be spending money if you want your career to blow up.
oh
But
well,
you said something. So like Russ talks about, you're able to do that all on your own. If you can do it on your own, go ahead. Then that works for you, right? But why? So okay, you own 100% of your masters, but you only get 10 streams a month. So you own 100% of nothing basically.
pretty
So
much.
it's okay. Yeah. Owning your masters works if you got your business right. If your business is right, you got the people around you. And then you got everything you got going on, and you don't need a label. You got bank, you got marketing dollars, you got a marketing budget. You can put billboards up, you can have your Google ads running. You can have if you have that and you have a team around you of people that know what they're doing in this day and age, yeah, you don't need a record label. But saying you want to own 100% of your masters and you're just in your bedroom and you don't know what's going on and you're refusing to give up, why would anybody want to put money into you if they can't profit off of it?
True, that's
So
facts.
you're telling me as a label, I'm going to invest, let's say $2 million off the rip.
And give
I'm
you a
gonna invest
master.
2 million, but then you want 100% of your masters and I don't get nothing. Like, what the
Fuck
fuck?
out
Why
of
the
here.
fuck would I do that?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
facts, facts. Even if
Restaurants
I
handing
invest,
out free food.
even if I invest,
Nah,
man,
B.
what do you mean? Nah, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
When you get to a certain amount, a certain place in your career, and you're kind of on cruise control and you've built up your following, then you can follow that Russ thing. But Russ ended up signing to a label, did he not?
yeah, he did end up signing
Right.
it.
And we probably wouldn't know, or we wouldn't be having this conversation about Russ if that
He did not
initial
sign it.
label push wasn't there. Now he's in the part of his career where when he fulfills his contractual obligations, why go back to the label? The label already served its purpose. You feel me? So now you're gonna go forward with your plan, and you got the money where he can work his records already. But keep in mind, you do not hear Russ's records in full rotation on radio. So let's keep that in mind as well, right? But for his purposes, he doesn't need to do that. His business is right. Maybe he's good. I'm not up on everything that's going on with his, financials and his business side. But um the whole thing about owning your masters and being independent is only if you can pull it off. If you can't pull that shit off, then you need help. You need to sign to a label. I was talking, me and Soldier Boy was talking about this, and he's like, a label's offering you $100,000 to get up out the hood, to take care of your mommy, to take care of your. Do that. Why are you turning that deal down? What else are you gonna get? What are you
Facts,
holding out for?
facts.
Right? You need to get out of that situation now, because tomorrow you could be dead. Tomorrow you could be in jail.
Yeah,
Tomorrow your mommy could need a surgery and you can't afford it. It's just like players going skipping college and going playing 1 year in China or in Europe and then joining the league. They can't wait because you could injure yourself in that year and then your career could be over, right? So what do? They skip college, fulfill the 1 year, and then go right into the NBA, get the bag, and then go on with it. It's kind of like the same thing. Like if the opportunity presents itself, don't be so quick to say, nah, 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 I need to be independent. Because if they're gonna get you the shows, if they're gonna get you this, if they're gonna get you that, and you can't do that on your own, then that might be the way to go.
you're right. And what you said is crazy, and it's a sad story as well. And I seen it happen right in front of our face. Uh, Talking about the late rapper Houdini, he had many offers in LA. He was talking about his interviews. I was reading an interview by him on Complex. He was saying how these labels were signing him, but he wanted to remain independent. You know what I mean? He wanted to stay independent. But by the time he come back to the city, like like Danger was waiting for him. Like you said, if the label's offering you $1 million, $500,000, take it. If you could live out in
If
LA,
it's gonna better your situation at the
better your
moment, and you're
situation,
not signing away your life, like nobody's saying to sign a 5 album deal
10 album
and be
deals.
trapped, or like do a 360 and not have a lawyer look at your shit. Many rappers and musicians have made careers from signing with labels,
Facts, facts. You
more
def-
so than that have gone independent. Let's keep that in mind, right?
facts. And shout out to
So,
Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez financed the whole label game. Now he's independent doing his thing. Yeah.
but
So
look at that situation too. As soon as he went independent, shit started going sideways. Now that's a conspiracy theory. I don't know all the details, but
you never know. You
but
never
like
know.
I'm not saying to play, to be a pawn in the game, but just understand the game and know
Yo,
how
you
to
got
move
it.
across the board.
And I was listening to a interview about with Young Thug. He was saying all he needed was a platform. Once he get a platform on, he's on. Now he's putting all his people on
Right.
his own label. He's just signed like 15 artists.
And now
Now,
everybody's on. But at
not
first
every
he had to get on though.
he has to get on. That's the mindset the artist got to
You
think. You
know,
got to
and
get
that's
on.
also the mindset, like, because nowadays it's like, in one set, it's not just one dude rapping, everybody's rapping. And sometimes it's crazy, not naming no names, but sometimes like dudes in the same camp, let's say I'm playing a man's record, his homie will hit me like, yo, why you playing so and so's record, but you're not playing my record? I'm like, man, that's a fucked up mentality to have, bruh.
You should
Because
support your.
you don't want your man winning unless you're winning.
Nah, man.
Like, let your man win. Like, for instance, like, look at Nelly and I don't know, Saint Lunatics or whatever his clique was called, right? Yo, it wasn't like I'm trying to get, I don't know, whoever his homies were. I'm not trying to put the same, like, no, it's like Nelly got on, made sure his shit was good, his shit's out of here, and then bring on the rest of the camp, let everybody else win. Same thing like Young Thug, right?
Yep, yep,
It's
yep,
like you
yep.
got to put yourself in a position to win, whether it be independent, whether it be signing to a label, whether it be doing a partnership with a label, whatever the situation is, you need to put yourself in a position to win. If nothing's going in for you, believe me, if somebody's offering you a label deal, you fucking take that deal because nothing else is going in. So what do you do?
Nothing else is going, especially in the city. I don't see artists getting signed like that. I see Warner just signed a Smiley, LB Spiffy, and Sony just signed a Swagger, right? So here and there, they're signing. They're trying a thing with these Toronto artists. I see them trying. You know what I mean? Which I give them props for.
But like, we can't look at Canada as let's be honest, Canada is not the market for you to become a superstar if that's
Right,
what you're looking for.
that's
Now
right.
you can make a living. A lot of artists had made a living not breaking into the US, right? Like, once you start going overseas and you see that you can tour Germany and Hungary and
Peter Jackson,
Albania
Peter
and
Jackson.
France and Qatar or wherever, bro, you'd be like, yo, I can get a bag without even touching a Billboard chart. Then that's like, not everybody's finna be on the Billboard Hot 100. Some people are gonna make their ways doing, like, mid-level shows, and they make $250,000 a year, $300,000 a year, and you smart with your money, you can finesse that into something. A lot of artists have done that here out of Canada,
Facts, facts, facts.
more so than who have, blown up and become superstars. Now, if you can become a superstar, by all means, that's what the goal. But sometimes maybe, and I hate to say this because you don't want to stomp on any dreams. Sometimes it's like you might need to look at other
Other
paths.
facts. So with the growth of streaming and like Spotify, Apple, and Tidal and everything, right? And a lot of people talking about streaming will be the death of radio. So what do you see radio in the next 10, 20 years? Do you
Um, as long as radio is free, radio will never die.
okay?
As long as radio is free and streaming costs money, radio will never die.
Damn, big insight. Big
That's
insight.
the reality of the situation. As long as you got a radio in your now, listen, if they stop putting FM radios in cars, you got something to worry about. Right? Now, like, will things change eventually? Sure. But as long as you got to pay for something and somebody's offering something for free, there'll always be a segment of the population that'll take the free option.
Oh, that's facts. Okay, you're
Right?
right.
We look at such a small, sometimes here in Toronto, we put ourselves in our own little bubble, like
Yeah,
with what we mean, our world, right?
yeah,
Where
yeah, yeah.
our world consists of. But you forget that there's a 42-year-old mom driving her kids to school that doesn't go on any blog
Facts
pages, doesn't
behind.
fall, and she might find you, and now she's a legit fan.
Yeah,
And that's probably the fan that you want because that fan might have disposable income to actually buy your album, to
facts.
actually physically purchase an album. You know what I mean? Maybe not, but what you don't want to do is isolate that person and just think that your fan base is only within your world. There could be a refugee from Syria that comes here, turns on the radio, likes your song, and all of a sudden he's a fan. But don't discount that fan. And that's what radio offers. It offers you to expand your horizons beyond your network, beyond your reach.
Facts.
So, like I said, as long as it's free, as
It's
long as you can turn on your radio and you don't got to, subscribe or give a credit card, I think radio ain't going anywhere anytime soon. It might evolve, it might change, but I don't think it's disappearing.
yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. You got you got some crazy insights. Like I love
Man,
your
it's just facts though, right? Like, I
yeah,
think a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of people think radio's dead. Right? Nah, B, radio. It's 5 million people in the GTA listen to radio.
Damn.
5 million. Like, you can Google the numbers. You can go how much people listen to radio in Toronto, and it'll give you a bunch of resources where you can be like, oh shit, that's what's going on. So yes, you got 1,700 views or 10,000 views on your Instagram video that you posted, or on YouTube. Let's say you get 12,000 views on YouTube over, I don't know, a couple weeks, but your shit could play on the radio and 100,000 people just heard that in
Wow.
one spin,
Wow.
right?
Yeah,
And
that's
now on your
crazy.
radio it says so and so song by so and so. So you now you know who that artist is. Like, how you discounting that?
So do each radio play get reported to SoCan? Is that why artists need to register with SoCan?
If you want your check. Now, everything would register on media base, from what I understand, right? So that tracks the spins. But yeah, if you want to check off your music, then you should be registered with a publishing company, or if not a publishing company, then SoCan,
So
right?
so
Like we're here in Canada, where SoCan is here set up for Canadian artists, that it's not costing you really anything for you to go in there and register with SoCan, so that you can, get credit for your music.
so when artists get their music play on Made in Toronto, so would they be able to get pay off of that?
If they have a publishing deal somewhere,
Wow.
right? And you don't have to have a deal to go to SoCan. You can just go to SoCan, register, and then they will handle your publishing for you.
Wow.
Of
Okay.
course.
Yo, if you guys are listening today, make sure you guys register for SoCan. This guy give a lot.
Register for SoCan. Like, you can, I mean, maybe not in the current climate, but you can walk into their office when life is normal again. You can go into Factor. I urge everybody to go into Factor and say, hey, listen, I'm a new artist. Can you let me know what you guys can do for me? Like, if there's government agencies that are set up to help you move your career along, why wouldn't you want to take advantage of that?
Especially they don't have that in the states. Canada.
Nah, no, like, I don't, like, no, not in North America. I mean, there might be some countries. I think Australia has something like that, maybe New Zealand, but like, there's no, and that the reason for that is to protect Canadian heritage, to make sure that the Canadian voice is being heard, right? And being next to an American market. So that's why the government, from my understanding, offers this, these grants and whatnot. So you're gonna want to take advantage of that. Why wouldn't you? Now listen, is 8 spins on the Made in Toronto takeover gonna make you a millionaire? Nah, not
Yeah.
at all, bro. I think it's like five, like, I don't know what the spins are, how much your checks are, but nah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But if you're getting played on various radio stations all the time, that's gonna accumulate. So you're gonna
Sure.
want your publishing set up for that.
Sure. So if you could change or improve anything about the music industry, like what would it be?
Anything that DSPs gave artists their fair share of money, because now, since nobody's going into HMV or whatever to go buy a CD, that's where people were able to make money. Somebody gets 1 million views, what are they making? I don't know, $40,000, and that's off of YouTube, if that, right?
Yeah.
Not even $40,000. What am I talking about? Like, maybe $14,000, more like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And on the DSPs, it's even worse. So
Where
that's why
five
artists,
thousand.
yeah, $5,000. So you're telling me an artist got to put a record out every 3 days? That also degrades the quality of the music, because now you're just rushing to put out as much product as possible to get your streams up, to get numbers, to get a check. I think if the DSPs came into it with a fair deal for the artists, we would get a lot more quality music versus quantity music.
Okay. Okay.
Like,
Okay.
there's so much music coming out, bro, that sometimes I don't even want to hear shit. I'm just like,
No, trust me, man. These days it's hard.
I loved sitting with an album for 2 months, 3 months. I love that an artist dropped one project every year or every 2 years. And I got to appreciate that. I don't like when like, I remember a J album used to drop. You were picking up gems off the J album 3 months down the road. Shit was making sense. You're like, oh, wait a minute. He said this, and you were listening for 2.5 months and never picked up that line. And on the third month, you picked up that line, like, the Black album or whatever. Like, I would like to appreciate music, but I also know that the quality of the music has to be there. And if you're in a situation where you got to put out as much music as possible to catch a check, quality is definitely going to be compromised.
Yeah, you definitely right. It's definitely gonna be compromised.
So if I could change anything about the music industry, it's that the powers that be played fair and shared profits a little bit
That's
more.
dope.
Maybe
Yeah, that's
partnerships. I'm not sure what the case would be, but
you're right. Like being on the radio, I found like man, you like just listen to you on the radio. It's like it always seemed like you're so positive. You're always happy and smiling and things like that. You could hear it to your voice.
yeah, but
But
that's also the job, right? Like,
yeah, that's also the
because
job.
I can be pissed as fuck, and then that mic turns on, and I gotta put on a smile and be that person. And also, you know, you're trying to make people happy. Nobody wants to tap into the radio and hear you pissed off. You feel me? So
Dude,
like,
that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, what advice you could share with everyone, anybody that's gonna be listening to this podcast, on how to keep going and staying positive, especially going through COVID right now. Like, how do you stay positive?
man, my family, bro. Like to be honest with you, like, I haven't. And especially as you get a little older, you notice your circle gets a little smaller. You feel me? So it's not like I've gotten I get off by being in the clubs, right? Like, that's where I be working at, yelling into a mic, DJing, whatever. That's throwing events. That's kind of like where I feel comfortable, and that's where I get my social experience from. So with that being gone, it's like focusing on bettering myself, man. Taking some time to like heal myself. And when I say heal, it's like you know, if a lot of us grew up in the quote unquote streets, there's some damage done that we don't even realize. So this 2 years, I've been able to self reflect and take care of myself, bro. Like, drink less, take care of myself, and just being around my family and succeeding makes me happy. You know what I mean? Success makes me happy, and I just don't want anything to hinder that. So I just focus on my game, focus on my family, mind my goddamn business,
Facts.
and chase my bag, bro. Like nothing's gonna get me sidetracked from what I'm doing. You feel
Yo,
me?
facts.
So like, yeah, no, but to be honest with you, man, just my family, bro, and COVID has kept me sane and happy. And you know, I like smoking some loud every night, kind of keeps the mind, the mind at ease. But yeah, nah, man, the family, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Dope. Dope. So she said success. So what's been your best accomplishment so far then? Like throughout your career?
Being a father.
Oh wow, wow. That's crazy. That's
Yeah,
dope.
yeah,
That's
no amount of
dope.
money. I'm happy, right? Like I don't need $25 million next year. Like, you know what I mean? I got myself set up.
Yeah, that's
I
dope.
know that I can fade. Like my goal, bro, is to get the bag and disappear. Shut
That's
down my Instagram, shut down everything. And like, the only way you'd be able to get a hold of me is if you have my phone number. You feel me? Like that's my goal in life is to like just fade to black. Be like, all right, I'm out of like, I don't need to be. And I love the radio. Don't get me twisted. Like I love everything I do. But I want to go and just enjoy life. Be like, you know what I mean? I just want to enjoy my life without having to worry about anything else. So yeah, but like, yeah, being a father is definitely my greatest accomplishment, man. That's success because I see that I can impart something onto the next generation, and and all the mistakes, talking about making mistakes and making sure that I see my children, and I'd be like, yo, I can this means something. Like the $2,500 Louboutins in the closet don't mean shit. The jewelry don't mean shit. The
yeah.
whips don't mean shit. Like it don't mean shit if there ain't nobody to take it after you leave.
Sure, sure,
You know
sure.
what I mean? Like you're not taking that shit to the grave with you. So like seeing my kids here makes me want to hustle more, in part making me more like want to be more successful.
Yeah,
But that's what drives me. That's what like these days where I'm at in my life, just chilling and like after we get off of this, just going to play with my kids.
yeah, yeah.
This is what I see, like success. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I got a nice, I got a little nice house. I drive a nice
Dope.
car. I'm happy. I'm content. Anything else that comes on top of it, so be it.
That's dope. My last two questions for you, man, before I let you go, man. So, what is the best advice you like throughout your whole 20 years of career? What is the best advice somebody gave you?
I remember I was like 15 or 16 years old, and me and my partner went on our first tour. We DJ'd in a crew called Ill Kids, and I was in high school, so my mom had to write a note to the principal saying I allow my son to go on a 2 week tour across Canada. But I was in Vancouver, and we were nervous, man. We were like 15, 16 years old, maybe 17. We're young, and we're playing in Vancouver. It's a packed house, like 1,000 people in there, nervous as fuck. And I remember at the end of the night, I went to the promoter. Shout out to the dude, the dude's G Man and Risk out there. I went to G Man and I'm like, yo, how do we do? And he came back to me and he says, well, I can't answer that question for you. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean you can't answer the question? He's like, the question I have is like, did you have fun? And I was like, oh hell yeah, I had fun, bro. I had. He's like, then you did I can't ask anything more than that. Then you did amazing. And I'm like, what the fuck you mean by that? He's like, first of all, if you weren't having fun, it's probably mean because people weren't having fun. And you wouldn't be happy and you would know that you did a shit job. So like the best piece of advice I have is make sure you enjoy what you're doing.
Facts.
Right? Like, and if you're gonna be a rapper on stage, if you're not having fun, don't expect the crowd to have fun. If you're not putting everything into your performance and you're wondering why everybody's standing around, because they're looking at you and you don't look like you're having fun. So if you're not having fun, they're not going to have fun. So like that was a piece of advice that I carry through to this day. Like if I'm not going to enjoy doing something, I don't care what the bag is. If I'm not going to enjoy doing it, fuck it, I'm not doing it because it's not going to end up in something positive. Like it's not going to end up in something that anybody enjoys.
Facts. You're
So
right.
make sure you enjoy what you're doing. Don't try to be a rapper because everybody else is being a rapper and you don't like it.
Yo, that's some dope ass advice. I'm gonna take that damn advice myself. I ain't enjoy whatever the fuck I'm doing. Like that's
Mm.
fact. Yo, my last question for you moving forward, man. What can everybody expect from you, especially from Made in Toronto? What's next for you?
Yo, man, like I have some business endeavors that are gonna be happening over the next year or so as things gradually open up. So I'm gonna be exploring my entrepreneurial side. I plan to continue doing what I do on the radio. And at some point in time, maybe artist development, artist management, when I feel, like going back to being a manager. And I say this because if anybody's listening, like I want to be a manager. When you're a manager, the artist is the most important person in your life, more important than your kids, more important. When I say that, like loosely, but like that person's priorities come before your own priorities.
Facts.
So, like, if I can get to a part of my life where I can offer that kind of attention to an artist, then that might be, I think, the natural progression for me is to get into artist development, artist management, possibly a label. But like I said, I only want to do things when the opportunity and the timing's right, when I can give it my all.
Okay, that's dope, man.
If
That's
I'm going to be on radio, then how can I focus on that? So right now, I'm just like focusing on the business side of my own entrepreneurial ish, and then just doing what I'm doing, having fun, man. I'm having fun on radio. I'm having fun doing the takeover. I'm not in a rush to kind of jump out of that into something else anytime soon.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. You doing your thing, man. Like I said, I listened to you to the radio when I had a job, but I don't have no job no more. So I'm still gonna try to listen to you in the
Congratulations.
Yo, bro, I'm taking going full force, bro. I'm going all the way in. I'm not holding back no more. But I really appreciate you coming on the show. I've been following you for a minute. You're a positive guy. It really, just seeing you doing what you do, it keeps me motivated to keep doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because you're
I
so
appreciate
selfless.
that.
You doing all this shit for people. You don't get nothing out of it. Like that's like it makes me want to like keep putting on whatever wherever I can. You know what I mean? Wherever I can
Right.
connect the dot, it motivates me. If nobody told you that, I'm telling you that.
I appreciate you,
Yeah,
man. I
facts,
appreciate
facts,
you.
facts. But
You know,
yeah,
and if I could share one last thing, man, let's start smiling more, man, and stop grilling less. That's how
facts.
you get that's how the more people you connect with, the more bread that comes in, man. So that's just my one little piece of advice to anybody that's listening here. Next time you see somebody that looks like you, maybe offer up a daps before you screw face. I think that little thing there, especially for people you don't know, will change. You'd be surprised how much that'll change a whole community.
Yo, facts, positive energy, man. I
Mm.
appreciate you coming in the show, man. Thank you guys for like tuning in. Make sure you guys check out the podcast. Listen to all previous episodes. Thank you very much for tuning in one more time, man. I appreciate you. Listen to the Flow 93.5, the hottest
You're
station in Toronto, man. You already know what it is,
all
man.
right, my guy. Thanks for having me.
Good night, man.